The marketplace was chaos. Shouts echoed between cramped stalls. The sharp scent of exotic spices mingled with the metallic tang of machine oil. In the heart of the trade district, where every corner held a secret deal, Rahim stood with his hands clenched tightly around the straps of a battered crate. The glow of neon signs cast eerie colors across his weathered face. His eyes darted nervously, scanning the crowd for trouble. The deal he had just made was far from clean, and the price unusual. His client, a shadowy figure dressed in dark robes, had offered something unexpected as payment, an alien slave. Rahim's gut twisted. He wasn't new to strange transactions, but this was different. This alien wasn't like the others he'd seen before, weak, frightened, desperate. No, this one sat calmly, chained but dignified, with eyes that held a quiet fire. Her skin shimmered faintly under the neon light, a subtle iridescence hinting she was no ordinary slave. "She's yours now," the client said, voice low and hard. "No returns." Rahim blinked, his mind racing. Accepting a slave as payment was risky, but his debts had piled up and cash was scarce. Besides, he reasoned, a slave could be sold for a good price, or maybe she could prove useful, maybe not. The chains clinked as the alien princess shifted slightly. Her gaze met Rahim's, piercing and unreadable. No fear, no plea, just calm. "Why don't you say anything?" Rahim asked, voice hushed. She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered a phrase in a language unfamiliar, soft yet commanding. It was like a song and a warning rolled into one. Rahim's heart pounded harder. What had he gotten himself into? Suddenly, without warning, the alien's body tensed and she slumped forward, unconscious. Panicking, Rahim caught her before she hit the ground. His fingers trembled as he looked into her peaceful face, a face that somehow felt regal despite her captive state. "What secrets are you hiding?" he muttered. No one noticed the exchange had turned strange. Not in this crowded place where people barely noticed each other's existence. But Rahim did. The weight of the chains felt heavier than metal. This was no ordinary transaction. It was the beginning of something far bigger. As Rahim carried her away, the distant sound of footsteps echoed behind him. He didn't look back, but he knew this was just the start. Days passed in silence, broken only by the low hum of the city and Rahim's restless thoughts. He locked the alien in a small room beneath his shop, away from prying eyes. He watched her, studied her. The slave remained unconscious, but the strange glow in her skin seemed to pulse softly, almost like a heartbeat out of sync with a normal one. One night, Rahim sat beside her, unable to ignore the mystery any longer. "Who are you?" he whispered. Suddenly, her eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly in the dim light. She stared at him, then spoke in perfect common, the universal language, with a voice that was soft but firm. "I am Lysara," she said, "not a slave." "Not what you think," Rahim's breath caught. "What do you mean?" he asked, leaning closer. Lysara's gaze was steady, her tone urgent. "There are forces hunting me, powerful ones. I was betrayed, imprisoned, and sold like a commodity." Rahim felt a chill. He had no idea how deep this story would go, but something told him she was telling the truth. Suddenly, Lysara's hand twitched, and a holographic image flickered into existence above her palm, a map of stars and strange symbols. "Look closely," she said. "This is why I was captured. This is why I must survive." Rahim leaned in, heart pounding. The stars in the hologram shifted and twisted, revealing a hidden path, a secret that could change everything. A sharp noise at the door made Rahim jump. He blew out the light quickly and moved to the window. Silhouettes stood outside, speaking in harsh alien tongues. "They've found her," he whispered. Lysara's eyes narrowed. "It's only the beginning," she said. Rahim knew then that his Life, and perhaps humanity's, was about to change forever. Cliffhanger. As the alien hunters closed in on Rahim's shop, Lysara whispered, "Trust no one. The truth will shock you." The pounding at the door shattered the silence like thunder. Rahim's heart leapt into his throat. Outside, the heavy footsteps of the alien bounty hunters echoed through the narrow streets, their voices, sharp and angry in an alien tongue, filtered through the thin walls of his shop. "Hide," Lysara hissed, barely stirring from her semi-conscious state on the floor. She had been weak since arriving, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the room with practiced alertness. Rahim scrambled behind the counter, fumbling with an old weapon he kept hidden beneath the floorboards. It was crude, outdated, but better than his bare hands. The door crashed open. 3 figures stepped in, clad in dark armor, their faces obscured by visors glowing a fierce crimson. They scanned the room, their weapons raised. "Where is she?" Unbarked in heavily accented common. Rahim swallowed hard, raising his hands slowly. "I don't know what you're talking about." One hunter stepped forward, the glow from his visor shifting. "You're lying, human. We know you have the—" "Slave!" Lysara rose, her movements sudden and swift despite her frailty. "I am not your slave," she said, voice cold and unwavering. The hunters froze, startled by her defiance. Rahim felt a surge of protectiveness he hadn't expected. "She's under my protection now." The leader snarled, "That will cost you." Before the hunters could react, a piercing alarm blared outside, forcing them to retreat with curses and threats. Rahim exhaled shakily. "That was close," Lysara nodded. "They'll return, and they won't come alone." For hours they sat in tense silence. Rahim finally spoke. "Why are they after you? What did you do to deserve this?" Lysara's eyes darkened. "I am Lysara, princess of the Zalari Dominion. My family rules a vast empire among the stars." Rahim blinked, incredulous. "A princess? Imprisoned by those who betrayed me," she continued. "I was captured and sold to the highest bidder. A punishment orchestrated by my own blood." Rahim's mind reeled. He thought of all the slaves he'd seen, broken, hopeless. But Lysara was different. She carried herself with the grace of a queen, even in chains. "Why come here? To Earth. Earth is neutral ground, a place where my enemies would be less likely to hunt me openly," she explained. "But even here, danger follows." Rahim felt a strange mix of fear and fascination. "So what now?" Lysara's gaze hardened. "We find the truth behind the betrayal. We reclaim what was taken." Rahim's shop suddenly felt too small for the weight of her words. Over the next days, Rahim watched Lysara recover her strength. She was mysterious, often staring at the holographic star map that hovered above the table. One night, unable to contain his curiosity, Rahim asked, "What is this map showing?" Lysara's fingers traced the glowing stars. "This is the route to the hidden stronghold of my family's loyalists. They hold the key to exposing the traitors." Rahim leaned. The stars shifted, revealing patterns of warships and secret codes. This could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Suddenly, Lysara's hand shot out, activating a small device on her wrist. A holographic message flickered to life. "My brother, the true heir, is imprisoned," she said quietly. "If he is freed, the Dominion can be restored." Rahim's eyes widened. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because no one can be trusted," she replied, "not even among humans." Days turned to weeks. Rahim and Lysara formed a fragile partnership. She taught him about the galaxy beyond Earth, its politics, dangers, and wonders. He showed her the resilience of humanity, their hope despite hardship. One evening, as they studied the star map, a sudden explosion rocked the shop. Flames licked the ceiling. The alien hunters had returned, with reinforcements. Rahim grabbed Lysara's hand. "We have to go, now!" They escaped into the dark alleys, hearts pounding. Behind them, the shop collapsed in a cloud of smoke and fire. Lysara looked at Rahim, determination burning in her eyes. "They want me dead, but I won't let that happen." Rahim nodded. "Then let's find the truth, before it's too late." Cliffhanger. As they disappeared into the shadows, Rahim heard a voice on a communicator crackle through the chaos. "The princess is alive. Find her at all costs. No mistakes." The night air was heavy with tension as Rahim and Lysara darted through the labyrinthine backstreets of the city. The distant wail of sirens mingled with the crackling of flames from his burned-down shop, a cruel reminder of how swiftly their lives had changed. Every shadow seemed alive, every corner a potential ambush. "We need a safe place to regroup," Rahim whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "Somewhere off the grid." Lysara nodded, her eyes sharp despite the exhaustion etched on her face. "There is a place, an old contact of mine from the underground resistance. If anyone can hide us, it's him." Rahim hesitated. "The resistance? On Earth? You trust them?" Lysara's jaw tightened. "I don't have many options." Navigating the winding alleys with practiced stealth, they finally arrived at a nondescript warehouse on the city's outskirts. Inside, the air smelled of oil and metal, with a low hum of machinery in the background. A man stepped out of the shadows, tall with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Lysara," he greeted curtly, "and you must be Rahim." "I'm Jax, the one who's agreed to help." Rahim extended a hand, which Jax shook firmly. "You're putting a lot on the line, helping her." Jax's expression darkened. "She's more than a slave. She's the key to something bigger than any of us." They settled into a small room lit by flickering neon, where Lysara pulled up the star map once again. "We have to find her brother," Lysara said. "He's the rightful heir, the only one who can unite the Dominion and stop the war." Jax frowned. "The Dominion's politics run deep. Who betrayed her? Why?" Lysara's voice was low, filled with bitter regret. "My uncle. He orchestrated the coup and sold me into slavery to cover his tracks." Rahim's mind raced. "So this uncle, he's hunting you because you threaten his rule?" "Exactly," Lysara said, "and his reach extends far, even here." Jax leaned forward. "If we're going to rescue her brother, we need intel, ships, weapons, allies." Rahim swallowed his fear. "I don't know anything about space warfare." Lysara smiled faintly. "Then you'll learn. We have no choice." Over the next days, the trio formed a plan. They hacked into local networks, gathering scraps of information about the Dominion's hidden bases and military movements. Rahim's street smarts combined with Lysara's knowledge of alien tech made them a surprisingly effective team. One night, as Rahim examined a star chart, a sudden flicker caught his eye. A coded transmission buried deep in the data stream. "Look at this," he called. "Someone's sending coordinates." And a warning. Lysara's eyes narrowed. "That's from one of my father's loyalists." Jax scowled. "What does it say?" Rahim decoded the message. "They've found the location of my brother's prison, but it's heavily guarded, nearly impossible to infiltrate." Lysara's fists clenched. "We have to try," Jax warned. "This mission could be a suicide run." Rahim surprised himself by speaking up. "I'm in. I can't just sit back." The gravity of the situation settled over them. They had no guarantees, only hope and determination. As they prepared for the journey, Lysara handed Rahim a small device. "This will protect you in combat. It's not perfect, but it could save your life." Rahim nodded solemnly, feeling the weight of the future pressing down. When the time came, they slipped aboard a stolen vessel, a sleek, silent ship designed for stealth. As the stars stretched into streaks outside the viewport, Rahim felt A strange mix of awe and fear. "We're crossing into enemy territory," Lysara said softly. "Once we land, there's no turning back." The ship shuddered as it dropped into the atmosphere of a distant, desolate moon. Jagged mountains and dark valleys spread beneath them, a perfect prison fortress. Disguised in advanced cloaking suits, they infiltrated the base, moving like ghosts through the cold corridors. Every step brought them closer to the imprisoned Prince, Lysara's brother, and the hope of reclaiming their shattered legacy. But as they approached the cell block, a chilling realization dawned on Rahim. "This place isn't just a prison," he whispered. "It's a trap." Suddenly alarms blared. The team was surrounded. "Betrayed," Lysara breathed, eyes wide with shock. From the shadows emerged a familiar figure, one Rahim never expected to see again. Cliffhanger. The figure stepped forward, a cruel smile twisting his lips. "Welcome back, Princess. You're exactly where we want you." The cold light of the prison's harsh fluorescent lamps flickered overhead as Rahim and Lysara were forced to their knees, hands bound tightly behind their backs. The figure who had stepped from the shadows now stood inches from Lysara's face, his eyes gleaming with malicious satisfaction. "Uncle Malrek," Lysara spat, her voice trembling but defiant. "You betrayed your own blood." Malrek's grin widened. "Blood? Power is the only blood that matters now. You and your brother are relics of a dying era, and I am the future." Rahim's heart pounded. The truth he had hoped to unravel was now twisted into a nightmare. Malrek was not only the architect of Lysara's downfall, but also the mastermind behind the Dominion's ruthless conquest. "We had a deal," Jack said coldly from the shadows, stepping forward despite the restraints. "You were supposed to let her live," Malrek laughed. "A deal? I don't make deals with traitors. She was a threat to my throne, and you, Jax, were a useful pawn. But pawns are easily sacrificed." Lysara's gaze hardened. "Then I suppose you don't fear what I can do." Malrek raised a hand, and a squad of guards appeared, dragging forward a heavily guarded cell. Inside was a solitary figure, chained and gaunt. "My brother," Lysara whispered. Rahim's breath caught in his throat. The man looked broken, but his eyes still burned with fierce intelligence. Malrek sneered. "Meet Prince Kalen, the true heir of the Dominion, but he's been broken, a shadow of the leader he once was." Kalen's eyes met Lysara's with a flicker of hope. "Sister," he rasped, voice hoarse from years of captivity. Lysara's resolve solidified. "We'll get you out." Malrek's smile faded. "You think it will be that easy? This fortress is impenetrable, and I've installed fail-safes to ensure none of you escape." Rahim's mind raced. "What kind of fail-safes?" Malrek motioned to a panel, and a holographic map of the prison appeared. It pulsed with red zones, laser grids, automated turrets, and surveillance drones. Jax muttered, "We're walking into a trap within a trap." Suddenly, alarms blared again. "Intruders detected!" a mechanical voice announced. The room shook as the prison's defenses activated. Rahim and Lysara exchanged glances. Escape was no longer a question of if, but how. Malrek's voice dripped with venom. "Enjoy your last moments. Your rebellion ends here." The escape. With a sudden burst of energy, Lysara twisted her restraints, managing to snap the cuffs using a hidden blade she had smuggled in. Rahim followed suit, and Jax quickly overpowered the nearest guard. Chaos erupted as they fought through the corridors, dodging deadly lasers and outmaneuvering patrolling drones. The cold metal walls echoed with the sounds of gunfire and shouted, "Orders!" Lysara led the way, her knowledge of the fortress's layout guiding them toward the central docking bay where a transport ship awaited. "Kalen," she called, "stay with us." Weak but determined, Kalen was lifted by Jax. "I'm not leaving without my people," he whispered. Rahim paused, realizing that the prince's presence was both a beacon of hope and a liability. They reached the docking bay only to find Malrek and his elite guards blocking the exit. "Looking for this?" Malrek taunted, holding a remote that controlled the docking bay's doors. A tense standoff ensued, the air thick with desperation and hatred. Rahim's mind flashed back to the device. Lysara had given him the combat protector. He activated it, feeling a surge of energy that sharpened his senses and strength. With a roar, he charged Malrek's guards, engaging in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Lysara and Jax took out the remaining foes, while Kalen struggled to regain his strength. Finally, Rahim wrestled the remote from Malrek's grasp and slammed the control panel. The doors hissed open. They sprinted aboard the transport as Malrek's enraged shouts echoed behind them. The turning point safely inside the ship, Lysara tended to her brother's wounds, her hands steady despite the chaos. Rahim piloted the craft through enemy territory, adrenaline masking the fatigue threatening to consume them. Kalen looked at Rahim with gratitude. "You saved my life. I owe you everything." Rahim shook his head. "We owe each other. This isn't just your fight anymore, it's ours." Lysara's eyes shone with determination. "Malrek will come after us. We need allies, resources, and a plan to reclaim the Dominion." Jax nodded. "I know just the people." As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Rahim realized their journey was far from over. The truth had been revealed, but the war for the Dominion's soul was just beginning. Cliffhanger. Suddenly the ship's alarms blared. A chilling message crackled over the comm system. "This is Admiral Vex of the Dominion fleet. Surrender the princess and the traitors or face annihilation." The warning from Admiral Vex echoed through the cramped cockpit, filling the air with cold, metallic dread. Rahim's hands clenched the controls as the ship trembled under the threat of imminent attack. Lysara's face, illuminated by the dim glow of the control panels, was a mask of fierce determination. "We can't outrun an entire fleet," she said quietly. "We have to fight or find a way to outsmart them." Jax paced the narrow cabin. "We're outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched. But if there's one thing I know, it's that the Dominion has weaknesses. We just have to find them before they find us." Kalen, still weak but resolute, leaned forward. "Admiral Vex is a loyalist to Malrek. She's ruthless and cunning. If she's after us, it means we've hit a nerve. But there's hope. The Dominion isn't united. Some factions want change." Rahim took a deep breath, his mind racing. "Then we use that. We turn their divisions into our advantage." The hidden alliance. As the ship veered off its course, Rahim set a course for a remote system known only to a handful of rebels, a place where the Dominion's grip was loosening. They hoped to find allies who still believed in the old values, in justice and in the rightful rule of the true heir. The journey was tense. Every moment, the threat of pursuit weighed heavily, and the ship's limited resources forced them to make hard decisions. Lysara oversaw Kalen's care, while Rahim monitored the scanners for any sign of the fleet. Suddenly, a blip appeared on the radar. Another ship, small, fast, and nimble. It matched the signature of a rebel scout. Jax whispered, "It's a chance." Rahim hailed the ship. A crackling voice answered, cautious but hopeful. "This is Captain Arlen of the Free." "Stars Coalition, we've heard rumors of your escape. If you're who you say you are, you're welcome here." Relief washed over the crew like a tide. The price of trust upon arrival, Rahim, Lysara, Kalen, and Jax were met with guarded suspicion. The coalition had seen too many betrayals and too many broken promises. Kalen stood tall, despite his frailty. "I am Prince Kalen, heir to the Dominion. I seek not revenge, but restoration. Justice for my people." Captain Arlen studied him for a long moment. "Words are easy. Prove your cause." The group was taken to a hidden base deep within an asteroid field, a fortress of steel and hope. Arlen laid out the situation. Malrek controls the Dominion's heart, but his forces are stretched thin. We've been waiting for a spark. If you can inspire the people, unite the factions, there's a chance. Lysara's eyes burned with determination. We will, but we need weapons, ships, and time. Rahim nodded. And information. We need to expose Malrek's crimes to the Dominion citizens. Bonds forged in fire days, passed as they trained, planned, and gathered support. Rahim found himself drawn to the Coalition's fighters, ordinary beings united by a common dream. Among them was Kara, a sharpshooter with a sharp wit and an unyielding spirit. She challenged Rahim's doubts and reminded him of humanity's strength. Lysara and Kalen strategized with the Coalition's leaders, crafting plans to infiltrate Dominion broadcasts and rally the citizens. Yet, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Some Coalition members distrusted the royal siblings, fearing they might become tyrants like Malrek. Jax warned, "Trust is fragile here. One wrong move, and it's over." One night, as Rahim and Kara patrolled the base's perimeter, an explosion rocked the asteroid. Alarms blared, and the base plunged into chaos. Betrayal from within. In the chaos, a group of Dominion loyalists struck. They had infiltrated the Coalition, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Fierce fighting erupted in the corridors. Rahim and Kara fought side by side, their bond strengthening amidst the turmoil. In the control room, Lysara and Kalen coordinated defenses. But the Loyalists' leader was none other than a former Coalition commander, once a friend, now a traitor. "You should have stayed loyal, Kalen," the traitor sneered, weapon raised. Kalen's voice was calm but resolute. "My loyalty is to the people, not to tyrants." A brutal firefight ensued. The Loyalists were pushed back, but the cost was high. Several Coalition members were lost, aftermath and resolve. The base was battered but still standing. Captain Arlen addressed the survivors. "We've been wounded but not broken. Our fight has just begun." Kalen looked at his sister and Rahim. "Malrek thinks he's won by sending Vex and his Loyalists after us. But he's only shown his desperation." Lysara's voice was steady. "We will expose him. The Dominion will know the truth." Rahim felt a surge of hope mingled with dread. The coming battles would demand everything they had: courage, loyalty, and sacrifice. Cliffhanger. As the group prepared for their next move, the ship's sensors detected a mysterious signal. An encrypted transmission from deep within Dominion space. The message was simple but chilling. "Your time is running out. Surrender or be destroyed." The encrypted warning still echoed in Rahim's mind as he stared at the flickering starfield beyond the reinforced viewport. The Dominion fleet was closing in fast, an ominous shadow against the light of distant suns. Kalen's voice broke the silence, calm but resolute. "We knew this day would come. The choice now is ours. Surrender and lose everything, or fight for the future we believe in." Lysara's hand gripped Kalen's shoulder. "For the people, for justice." Rahim nodded, his mind racing through possibilities. The Coalition was scarred but united. They had weapons and hope, but the Dominion fleet was vast, well-equipped, and ruthless. The final strategy. Inside the war room of the Coalition base, a tense gathering of leaders debated their next move. Captain Arlen's voice was steady. "We can't face the Dominion fleet head-on. We lack the numbers and firepower." Jax added, "We need a plan that turns their strength against them." Lysara stepped forward. "We have allies among the Dominion, factions that want change. We must send a signal, something undeniable, to spark a rebellion." Kalen nodded. "I will broadcast my true identity across the Dominion's communication networks. If the people see their rightful heir, it might ignite hope." Rahim looked at Kalen, admiration and doubt mixing. But Malrek will come after you with everything. Are you ready to face that? Kaelin's eyes burned with resolve. I have no choice. The broadcast, the moment arrived. In a secure chamber, Kaelin faced the holographic cameras. His royal insignia glowed on his uniform, the symbol of a dynasty betrayed but unbroken. My fellow citizens of the Dominion, his voice echoed across star systems. I am Kaelin, your rightful heir. For too long, Malrek's tyranny has blinded us to the truth. The Dominion deserves justice, freedom, and peace. As the message spread, communications hubs buzzed with activity. Some greeted the revelation with hope, others with fear. The seeds of rebellion had been sown. The battle begins. The Dominion fleet descended on the Coalition's base with brutal force. Explosions rocked the asteroid fortress as plasma bolts and missile trails tore through the void. Rahim piloted a fighter with fierce determination. His every move a dance between life and death. Kara's sharpshooting saved him multiple times, her precision a beacon amidst chaos. Inside the base, Lizara coordinated defenses, directing fighters to vulnerable points. Kaelin moved among the fighters, inspiring courage despite his weakened state. Sacrifice and triumph, the battle raged for hours, losses mounted, but so did resolve. In a critical moment, Rahim's fighter was hit, spiraling towards the asteroid's surface. With grit and skill, he managed a crash landing. Escaping moments before the cockpit exploded, he emerged battered but alive, racing back to the control room. There, he found Captain Arlen gravely wounded. We hold the line. But it's falling apart, Arlen gasped. Rahim's heart tightened. We can't give up. Suddenly, an emergency alert blared. The Dominion flagship had entered the system's orbit. Confrontation with Malrek Kaelin received a direct communication. Malrek himself, voice cold and mocking. You are a fool to challenge me, boy, Malrek sneered. Surrender now, and I might spare your people. Kaelin's reply was steady. You stole my birthright, but you cannot steal the future. Malrek's final warning was a threat of annihilation. Turning the tide, just when all seemed lost, a massive surge disrupted Dominion communications. It was the factions allied with the Coalition, rebels within the Dominion fleet turning their weapons against Malrek's forces. Chaos exploded aboard the flagship as mutiny spread. Malrek's control crumbled. In the fray, Kaelin led a daring boarding party to confront Malrek face to face. The duel was fierce, steel and strategy clashing amid the flickering lights of the warship. In the end, Kaelin disarmed Malrek, capturing him alive. A new era with Malrek imprisoned. Kaelin broadcast a final message. We have suffered, but we have prevailed. Together, we will rebuild the Dominion, not as a kingdom of fear, but as a union of hope. Rahim, Lysara, Jax, and Kara stood beside Kaelin, their faces reflecting relief and determination. The Coalition's sacrifices had not been in vain. Reflection and lesson in the quiet that followed the storm, Kaelin spoke to the people once more. Power is not in domination but in unity. The greatest strength lies in embracing our differences and standing together. We are all responsible for the future we create. Rahim looked at his companions, the bond forged in fire stronger than ever. Galaxy had changed, but so had they. The end